Hi, this is Asim.
This is Sujoy.
This is Amrita.
And you're listening to Khandaan, a Bollywood podcast about the three main Khans of the Hindi film industry.
Amir,
Salman,
and Shara.
Hi, you're listening to Khandaan, a Bollywood podcast regular feed. Thank you so much for your support over the years. We now have a Patreon channel with bonus content and exclusive merch for those of you who would like to support us. Every dollar goes towards creating more and better content. Visit us at patreon.com/Khandaan podcast.
Hi and welcome to a new episode of Khandaan Podcast. My name is Asim Bernie. I'm joined with my lovely co-host Amrita and Sujoy. Hey Amrita, hey Sujoy.
Hello everybody.
Hello.
We are talking about two things this episode. We finally caught up with Do PATTI, Kriti Sanon and Kajol's movie on Netflix. We want to talk a little bit about that. And then we have... basically, our main review is going to be Citadel Honey Bunny, the new series by Raj and DK starring Varun, Dhawan and Samantha, Prabhu. Did you find, is there enough excitement for Citadel? I feel it's kind of low. People, compared to the first Citadel where it was Priyanka Chopra, most expensive show. This seems like halke.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say over on Patreon when we posted Sujoy's little mini review for TikTok. The first Citadel, when it came out, the promotional push was so strong. Priyanka and Richard Madden were everywhere. Amazon really went all out for that show. And for this one, it seems to have been fairly pika,
Yeah.
There have been a couple of events here and there that I've seen, but nothing like a big push.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know what the strategy is here. If they were trying to do these spin-offs in different markets, were they then just confining it to that particular market, or are they making an international product that they're hoping will then make that jump into the international market?
Yeah,
so,
like a international crossover universe kind of thing that they're doing.
Because
yeah,
that's the thing that makes sense, right? When you think about it from a writing perspective or a creative perspective, that's what makes sense. I've watched the main series. Now you're telling me fleshing out these little side stories that give you the backstory, that tell you what's happening tangentially, blah, blah, blah. Well, I want to know that, right? If I cared about Citadel in the first place, then I want to know about all the backstory and stuff. And this particular one is the origin story of Nadia, right? It's what, who her parents were and what happened to make Nadia the best agent that the Citadel ever had. So all of that. And this doesn't seem to have that push behind it.
Yeah.
I did see some sort of a push for the Italian one, Citadel Diana, but I haven't watched that series so far. I think with the first one, they were really banking on it to become an international success. But then the amount and effort and money that they put behind it, and they did not sort of get the rewards for it, I think. So I don't know if Amazon is sort of washing their hands off the series at this point. Pehle bana liya, so we got the budget.
No, they're making season 2. They're spending a lot of money on it again. So I don't think they're washing their hands of it. But I think when the trailer came out, I didn't know about this show until the trailer came out. It was somewhere in the back of my head, Honey Bunny Aayegi, whatever. But when the trailer dropped, I got super excited. I was like, this is awesome. So let's make it a main review. We got press screeners. Amazon was great with that and all that kind of stuff. And then when it landed, there was critically, it got pretty negative reviews. I felt even Rahul was quite negative. Uday's was quite negative. And then just this doesn't seem to be that much excitement, which I just find very, very surprising, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into Citadel then straight away. Or do you guys want to talk about Do Patti first?
No, let's talk about Citadel first.
Yeah. What did you think, Sujoy? I mean, we had your mini review up already. You got a chance to watch it before anybody. You wanna get into it? Did you like it? Like after a bit of marination, after a few days,
I think overall I liked it a lot more than I expected it to. I think this probably the Russo verse of the spies restricts Raj and DK not to fly their full flight in some ways, but even within that sort of restricted Amazon sphere of however they want to explore with this tale, I think they have managed to pull it off in a way. I think this surpasses the original Citadel, which has so much going on for it, but ultimately did not quite land for me. It was pretty much all spectacle and no like story in a way, or forgettable story even. Whereas this, I think, even though people have certain expectations from a Raj and DK series with some sort of memorable characters or memorable lines or memorable subplots, I think I got what I was expecting from this and some more, especially the action bit. How Raj and DK would operate on within the spy universe. I think they sort of delivered. I was very, very surprised by the action in this series. The quality of it, it's really, really good, and I'm very happy to see Varun and Samantha sort of really shine as the titular characters.
What about you, Amrita? What did you think of the series?
I haven't finished it yet, so I don't know. But overall, I think I like it so far. Like it's a very, it's not, I don't find it spectacular. I know that Sujoy really liked the action and stuff like that, but I'm not an action girly. Like that's not, like I like action movies, but I'm not like an action nerd. So a lot of the texture and the special things that Sujoy noticed in it, I did not. What I did really like are Varun, Dhawan and Samantha. Like they're just so great together. And Samantha, she does such a good job of really channeling Priyanka's energy in this.
I was saying that, they don't necessarily look the same, like physically, but the way she shot, you could say, yeah, that's her mom. Like in a weird way. Like you were like, yeah, she could possibly be her mom, like weird. I had never thought of that.
Exactly. If you put Samantha and Priyanka next to each other, I would never be like, oh, these are two women who look alike. But there's just like some ways, especially the way that she would hold her face and profile, etc. Like it really, like it's a matter of expression, I think. And Samantha does a really good job with that. And Varun is great as this sort of little boy lost who is looking for his family. It's just absolutely great. I will say that there's like a few things that I don't understand if I'm supposed to find, mysterious. Like, is KK a good guy? Like, I'm pretty sure he isn't. Right up from the get-go. There's a thing in the first episode about like how Varun has never met his wife, and then like they meet, and I was immediately suspicious. Like I don't know how that's gonna play out in the thing necessarily, because I haven't reached there yet, but I'm sure that's gonna come back. So these are things where I'm just like, if you're trying to sucker punch me, then that has not happened yet with this with the series. But it is it's Raj and DK. It's very capably made. It's very capably told. It's not as funny as, say, Your Family Man or things like that, but it's it's fine. And I like the kid.
She's really good.
Yeah, immediately.
Priyanka banegi. I also like how they tie in both of these Honey and Bunny are background people in the film industry, and how Honey is actually she belongs to a royal family, and she sort of ran away from it, but she was the rebel one because how she disagrees with everything her dad wants her to be, and she started learning how to shoot a gun because she had access to that. But also how she idolizes Fearless Nadia, Hunter Raleigh.
I saw that and I was like, this is catnip for Amrita. I was like, this is what's gonna get Amrita in the Fearless Nadia bit.
Well, it's just this is why I love Raj and DK, right? Like it's the unexpected little twists that they use to not just Indianize it, but also just use an Indian idiom in a way that is just interesting rather than like if it was somebody less talented, then they would basically be like, oh, she saw Sri Devi and she wanted to be Sri Devi, or she saw like Madhuri Dixit and she wanted to be Madhuri Dixit. But the fact that she saw Fearless Nadia, and like that's where Priyanka's name comes from. Like these are just such layers.
And there's no way they would have thought of that while they named her Nadia, right? In the original Citadel. There's no way that they had that thinking. So this really must come from Raj and DK, I imagine. So I think that was pretty amazing.
And also like, the backstory that we have for Samantha's character, like again, like Raj and DK are Telugu people. And I love the fact that they are able to represent a little bit of their culture, even on an international stage.
They always do that. No? There's always a bit of like South Indian or like Telugu flavor in their shows, which is good.
But like even in this, and it really brings into sharp focus just how Hindi-centric a lot of American or UK content is when they come and they talk about India. At the most, they'll, make a sidestep into Punjabi, but that's as far as they go. And then Raj and DK come in and they're just like, no, we have like a lot more going on. I love that his best friend from the orphanage is Chaco, which is like an incredibly Malayali name. It's just...
Oh, really? I thought it's a nod to Neeraj Vora from Dhawan.
That could be too.
With Raj and DK, you don't know. It could be both, to be honest.
You never know. Yeah.
Let's talk about the Raj and DK of it all first. Like, I want to get into that. Because I feel they have, more than anybody, they have this this format of serialized streaming show. In India, nobody does it better than them. They are able to have a pace of every episode is a story, and every episode makes you want to watch the next episode immediately, either by creating an intrigue or creating like a straight up cliffhanger. When they end an episode with "Who is Eagle?" I'm like clapping. I'm like, amazing. That's like an amazing way to end an episode. I want to watch the next episode. And they have that sensibility, and they've always had this of having that mix between East and West storytelling. It's been a staple for them from the start, from the first movie they made. And I feel almost that the content had to catch up with them. And now it's caught up and they're doing it like nobody else is doing it. I'm actually quite surprised with the critical reviews of this, because I felt that what people are criticizing about Honey Bunny, they should have maybe criticized about Guns and Gulab.
Yeah.
For me at all. I have no interest in necessarily for the second season. This one I thought was just, it blew me away, like how good this show was. The action is on pace. Like it's like, coming back to the Raj and DK stuff, they're known for, these one shot action set pieces, and they deliver us like 4 or 5. Like it's insane. And even in the episodes that they don't provide us that oneer or that long shot, they give us something else, like the episode where they have all of the flashbacks of Honey and Bunny. They're so well shot, the way it's like almost like Amélie Poulain, like I don't know which kind of like old school camera they're using and things like that. Like it's slightly funny, slightly tragic, and it's just amazingly shot. It's
the thing is like their writing is part of their craft.
Yeah.
Right? Like I think mainly because like they are writers as well as like directors, right? So they really understand how they're like plotting the arc and like how to never go too far in one direction. Like for example, when you see like Samantha's thing, and she gets married to this old man, right? And they show her as like the young wife. And that could have been like a very icky, very terrible, look at this woman being degraded sort of, story. But then the way they resolve it is her like murdering her husband.
With a grape.
And that is such a Raj and DK move, where she's like very quietly making sure that he chokes to it's great. Like I love it.
Yeah, it's amazing. Even the way they're obsessed about these B grade movies, and they retroactively fit them in. Like it's so amazingly done. I do feel, and I felt this while I was watching the show, but it became immediately clear when I watched 6 episodes, and then automatically the trailer for Citadel Diana started playing, a show that had not been on my radar. The reason is because I didn't like the original Citadel. So I had no interest in watching the Italian, sequel to it whatsoever. And I was watching and I was like, man, they really got Raj and DK and the Indian team on a discount. Like the money that they've spent on Italy is nowhere comparable to the money that they've spent in India. And Raj and DK has done so much with the limited budget, where even compared to other Indian show, it looks like they had a big budget. But watch the trailer of Citadel Diana and you say they still got it on discount, and nobody gives a shit about Diana. And Italy is not a filmmaking, content producing country. I don't feel it's justified that they spend that much money on Citadel Diana and they don't spend the same money on Raj and DK show. I have no figures to back this up. I'm just going off the trailer, but it definitely kind of jumped out to me. One negative,
I think there is some sort of a justification to be made there in terms of money, because the Indian Amazon Prime subscription numbers, the amount that is being paid per customer is very, very low. It's like £10 a year or something like that. Whereas if you compare to the Italian or European subscription numbers and the number of people who are speaking Italian who are subscribed to Amazon Prime and how much they are paying per head is way higher. So that's how YouTube revenues are also.
Yeah, but I think the mistake is then there's more Indians, Pakistanis, Bengalis interested in that content outside of India that are paying a premium than there are all of Italians. There's just way too many of us, right? So there's still a scope there, right? And it is literally the number one show of Amazon at this moment, where honestly I don't know, Diana, nobody talked about that show, right? So I don't know. I still feel that they can invest a little bit more if they want this market to grow also, right? Give the Indian audience a reason to subscribe and watch the show. So 2 negatives, and coming to the point that Amrita is making, is Raj and DK also have this, and it almost feels like something Christopher Nolan said when he was making The Dark Knight. Like a lot of criticism was about the camera angles, that they don't make sense in the shot. And Christopher Nolan was, nobody cares. If you're on board of the story, nobody cares. And I think I was thinking of that when I was watching Citadel, because there's a lot of these moments where they just play so fast and loose with the storytelling. It's like, ye kya hua? Like how did Honey become such a great agent in one mission. Like, what is KK's recruitment agency? They never really explain it. It goes really, really fast, all of these things, right? But I think it's fine, like, because you are on board with the storytelling, you are on board with these people. But there were a lot of times where I was like, there was a film plot here, there was a plot, like even the whole stuntman film thing, I thought it was going to be like an Om Shanti Om type of situation.
Yeah.
And they just completely dropped that, and I was like, I was really enjoying that. But yeah, it's like, also, but then it hurts them when they have this big intrigue, like, who is the spy in Citadel? And you're like, there's two people. It's one or the other. Like you've literally only seen two people. Like, who could it be?
And also, after the reveal, now what? Like, it's so inconsequential in the big term, in the big picture. So
So these are the minor problems I had, but it's nowhere near, I feel, the negative reviews the show is getting. I think it's one of the better shows that I've ever seen made from India on these. But I'm saying that because it truly appeals to my sensibilities, right? Like the humor, the action shots, Varun, Dhawan and Samantha, Prabhu, who are two extremely hot people, which, again, give me two extremely hot people, I will watch it. They look so hot in that sequence where they in 92, where they're kind of dating together and they're watching that movie in that hut. I was like, man, this is so hot.
I love that. I love that scene.
I mean, like Varun's entry where he just slow motion, adjusts his jacket, goes on that bike, and it's a long tracking shot, and he just does that stunt. It's like, he hasn't had that even in his father's movie,
like Samantha with the hair extensions and the retro glasses. I was like, Samantha and Varun, okay, 92 ki ladki. Ladke, like, they know what's up. What did you think of Samantha and let's give them justice. Let's break it down one by one. Let's not pile them together. Let's do Samantha first, because I have not seen a lot of her movies from before, but everything I've seen from the second version of, because I feel there's a second version of Samantha, no, if I'm not mistaken, like
post Family Man and all of that.
Yeah, and they have that relationship from Family Man with her, but like everything I've seen of her has been amazing. Like even like Super Deluxe, she was amazing in that one. The Pushpa song, she was amazing in that, and Family Man. These are like 4 such different things that I've seen of her, right? And she's been just amazing in all of it. And I thought I loved her as a Honey, right?
Yeah, Honey.
I loved her as an actress trying to find in her space in auditions. I love her kicking the casting director's balls when he was trying to harass her. I love her falling in love with Varun. I love her being a mom and just getting battered and bruised and knifed, and like just not keep telling your daughter, I will always protect you. I thought that was like such an amazing role, and in a way the show is more about her than it even is about Varun, I feel. I was completely blown away by her. Sujoy, what did you think of Samantha?
This particular scene, you already see it in the trailer, but you get to see more of it where she's auditioning and she's like, oh, pehle surprise, then shot and pressed. Ab saath mein karo. And so funny. And you get you get to see Captain Jatak as the...
Captain Jatak, yeah.
Yeah, all these people. And it was funny. I really enjoyed that she plays Alisha Chinay to her son, to her daughter, in the fight sequence where she plays the Walkman for her. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed her. She is really capable of action as well, and that was surprising to me.
Yeah. I feel like this is perhaps the kind of stuff that we all wanted Katrina to do, but I feel like Samantha does a much better job of it. I believe it, like she really does a good job of selling herself as an action star. And we've already discussed, like how she is a very convincing familiarity to Priyanka. And when the series started, and it starts with her talking to her daughter, and I had a moment as it was playing out where I was like, well, is she going to be able to pull this off, especially in Hindi? Because, like Samantha is not a Hindi film actress. And then, of course, I didn't need to worry about it because Raj and DK did the whole retrofit where, they talk about like how she's not actually from a Hindi-speaking region of India. And, like she herself mentions it, like when he asks her, oh, did you write the dialogues yourself? And she's like, yes, it's in English. So, of course, I did. But there is a quality to her performance that is so much more assured today than it was when she first came on the scene, right? And again, I haven't seen a lot of Samantha either. I think, like she was in Eager, right? Like, yeah, she was in Eager, and then she was in like, I think a couple of other movies that I've seen, but
I was saying they seem all very like classic male-centric kind of movies. Like I was just going through IMDb, like what else should I watch? And it was like clearly that she was, like the way Ileana D'Cruz is in Bollywood movies, like that kind of movies. And I was like, yeah, this is probably not that interesting necessarily.
And then somewhere along the way, she just decided that she wanted to do different things and she wanted to have a more interesting career, and she has worked her butt off for it, and I'm all for it, and I think she surprised a lot of people with Family Man when she came in it. Was it last year or was it the year before? When was it?
Or was it
like 2 years ago?
Yeah, it might have been. I can check.
Yeah. I think it was like 2020 or 2021. But that really changed, I think, a lot of people's perception of her and what she was capable of. And I don't think Honey Bunny is proving any of them wrong.
It's 21, so it came out probably in 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. What about Varun? Apna hero. Yeah, 21.
I liked him in this. Again, he's not an actor with an incredible range. But when he gets material that serves to who he is as an actor, he knocks it out of the park 9 times out of 10. And that's what he's doing here, right? Like he's the hero, he's the Mawali, but he's also like got a purpose. He's like a kid with like a good heart. He is a family man. Like all of these are themes that Varun does really well, and his chemistry with Samantha is fantastic. Like you were talking about it, like when they're watching the Gair Kanuni video, and they both like have this like die off between the two of them. Like it's really funny, and it's really good character work. And again, like, when I first saw him and he comes onto the set with like a bit of swagger and he's just sort of like doing the walk and everything. And I was like, I'm not sure how I feel about this. And then immediately, like, he does the stunt. And I was sold. I was like, okay, so this is something that, it's in Varun's wheelhouse, definitely, but in a good way.
Yeah. I also just loved his relationship with KK because he plays that lost boy so well, like lost orphan boy. And clearly, I mean, you haven't seen, like, there's a mirror between him and Saqib Saleem's character.
Yeah.
The way KK is basically recruiting and abusing these young boys, right? And obviously the real life argument is, be it like, terrorist organizations or stuff like that, they do that, they'll, recruit young boys. But it's a system that literally everybody uses, from your bank to your sport team to religion. You get them young and then they're part of whatever team that they've joined,
The cult.
But yeah, exactly. So I just love that, how they kind of play with that father figure and the abuse that he's putting
they
on these boys.
Call him Baba.
Yeah. Like he forces them to call them Baba, right? He knows very well what he's doing, right? But then they also add that burnt chicken humor in there too, which is again such a Raj D. Like the grape and the burnt chicken is like very Raj and DK to kind of top it off with that joke instead of making it like super tragic and he was the father I never had. They actually never say that in that melodramatic way, I think. But he does say how, you know, when the Saqib Saleem scene is playing out, he can recall it at the finale and say, oh, that's what he did to you because he did that to me. And that says so much about the patterns of, you know, abuse that these men kind of perpetrate. I thought that was a great way. But you're right, Amrita. He's good at certain things. He's not great at other things. But I think I'm excited for this new Varun that's come out because he's had some rough years. He seems to be, reinvigorated, finding his groove again. And, just seeing him kick ass with fingerless gloves is just an amazing sight, and I'm glad Raj and DK gave that to us. Sujoy, Varun, how did he work for you?
I can only, remember two sides of him in this, and those are the action bit and the bit where he gets to meet Nadia and sort of go back to that side of his life that he lost. I think he really played that, oh shit, I'm a father now, and I am responsible for her. That I think she really played that really well, and the action bits, man, he really stepped up for it. I think it shows that he's good at action, and this only excites me more to see him in Baby John after this.
It does, but it also worries me because the action choreography in this show is so good. The blocking, the steady cam work, I don't know how they do this every time. Because we've seen it, they've been doing this since Family Man, right? The one-hour shot in the hospital that they had there. But this is so kinetic. When Amrita, you've probably not gotten that far, but the final shootout is at Honey's Haveli. All of this army comes down on that Haveli, and they have to kind of protect it as the last stand. And the way they use the location and the camera work and all of the props,
and smoke.
It's so amazing. I was literally please do not destroy this Haveli because it's some, architectural gem, but it looks amazing. And it has
something in Ramoji City.
It looked really good though. It looked really good. But it's amazing because it's so kinetic the way the camera is moving around them. And then the other thing is also they're doing a lot of their stunt work and their action work, but there's some things they cannot do. There's a shot where the villain picks up Samantha and really throws her against a wall. She goes crashing through it, and the camera follows the fall. It goes back on the villain, and then it goes back on Samantha. But in the meantime, they've done the Texas switch, right? So the stuntman fell through the wall. When the camera goes to the villain, the camera comes back. Samantha is obviously lying there for the next shot. That's how they do these kind of things. Mm-hmm. But because the camera is constantly moving,
you don't notice it.
You don't notice it, but it's also so connected because in the olden days, there used to be a cut, right? Or they hide, the Texas switch is always if you don't remember the Naked Gun, that's kind of the classic one where the stuntman is doing backflips. He'll backflip behind the sofa, and then Frank Drebin will come out of the sofa.
Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah, that's how they used to do it. That's the old way. But here the camera moves instead of having a prop hide it, which is just an amazing way to do it. And I mean, it's who does it this way, right? It's really Raj and DK. Any sequences or any shots that's now how far did you get, Amrita, in the show?
I am halfway through the third episode.
Right. Okay. Any short sequences, Sujoy, that stood out for you that you're like, oh, this I'll be thinking about?
Yeah, I think the first episode is the strongest for me overall. It's not saying that the rest of the show is crap or anything or mediocre, it's a really strong series, I think. But the first episode, they really push it to the limits, I think, for me, especially there's one in the recap in 1992 in the hotel when they're trying to trick Parmeet Sethi's character,
Kuljit,
David, I think. Yeah, Kuljit. And that whole hotel action sequence with Varun is really solid. The bike chase after that is very, very solid. Like the camera, how it moves through, and like the stunt work in that, like he have bikes flying in that shot, and it's really cool. But I think the best action sequence, I've already mentioned it, is the car action sequence with Samantha when she's been captured and she's trying to escape, and it's shot like a wonder.
And then Aaj Ki Raat drops in there too.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. What a music drop. It's so good. I also like the fact that there's so much physical violence against Samantha, but there's never any sexual violence. Like they're basically, even if she's in a very dangerous situation, she's treated as an equal. We're just gonna punch you. We're just gonna stab you. And I thought that was kind of really a cool kind of vibe to the thing. We haven't actually talked about the little girl who's really, really good too. Like, I know Amrita, kids annoy you. I'm sure this one did.
No, I actually really like this kid.
Yeah.
I felt bad for that dude who was in the first in the pilot, where he was the uncle, who's clearly like interested in Samantha and tries to do the best he can, but obviously has to pay a heavy price for it. But she's like really good when she understands that, he's probably hurt. And you can see like when he's telling her the story about Shravan getting killed by mistake, and the sins of fathers being visited upon the children, etc. When she looks at him and she's like, well, next time tell me like a happy story. And he's like, well, you're the one that asked me to tell you this story.
Yeah.
It's a great little interaction. And I think like 9.99% of children would play that a little too cute.
Yeah.
And therefore be annoying. Whereas with her, like, she's able to bring like this wealth of affection to the way that she interacts with that guy. And that's a very talented little girl.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I also liked the little girl that plays the young Samantha. She's also like really great, I thought.
Today?
So I was saying, little Nadia, she is obviously brought up in a very grown-up way. She has, like, from a really young age, has been told the realities of life, of the space where Honey operates, right? Like the dangers that she is able to navigate through, and how they navigate. They have a coded system and coded language through the pagers and stuff. Yeah, it's so cool.
I wish I'd done with my daughter the same thing. Like, like I haven't done that. Like, shit.
Yeah. And also that makes it less annoying for sure.
I also like that she does still have that child aspect in it too, where she's like, oh, I'm going to miss his patties. Like it's such a child thing to say, like, he died, but I miss the patties. I thought that was really, really sweet the way it was done. Also, shout out to the production design of the show. Like, 92 really feels like 92. Like the cars, the clothes, the fashion, the Walkmans, it's really well done.
There's a weird tech joke in this where Ludo is the computer guy, right? And in 1992 when they're trying to crack, and he's like, "Pure 8 GB ka file hai."
Yeah, I
remember.
Lagega or something.
Yeah. Especially when they're hacking. Go ahead.
Yeah, and he says like not 8 MB. GB. Pata hai kitna GB?
Also, just the fact that when he's hacking the file in the compound, and then you see the files flying 72%. Like, how many times have we sat there like just watching the files get copied that way, you know?
Yeah.
And now we would just do like an airdrop for the same file, you know? Like it's amazing. And the other thing I also want to shout out again, that Raj and DK humor is having Chakku and Ludo replay the car crash meme. Like, tu kahan ka hai? Bombay ka, Delhi ka? It's like doing that in 92 in Belgrade is just so inherently funny to me. You haven't seen it yet, Amrita. I think it comes in the Belgrade assassination sequence. And it's just so funny. I was just like cracking up. You know?
It's that Indian and Pakistani uncle fighting in Birmingham or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. I really, really like the show. It does take a while. Like, I think it never loses its momentum, but it is a lot in 6 episodes. Like, there's a lot. So, Amrita, when you said you couldn't finish that, I get that. Like, I would have ideally liked a day or two extra to kind of pace it out. I had to watch like 2-3 episodes a day, and I think that was a bit too much. So I think a little bit of pacing might actually help the show. But I do love that they just did 6 episodes and they're done. If this works really well, it builds up to a second season, definitely. And there's like emotional stakes in it. There's like an action beat in it. Again, it ends like on a cliffhanger pretty much, right? Like, we want to know what happens to these characters next. Just as they've kind of found each other, right? You know, little Nadia says something, and that was really touching, where she says, you know, she comes and sits between Honey and Bunny, and she says, Papa is here, can we come out of play mode now? And I thought that was like such a sweet thing to say, you know, can we be a proper family? And no, they can't, because the stakes are so high. Even his final shot with Saqib Saleem, I thought was amazing, where they finally, you know, get to talk, because that's the other thing with abusers, they will pitch people against each other, right? To kind of get the best out of them. And that's what KK is doing with Varun and Saqib Saleem's character. Oh, one thing that I also thought was really cool, we don't see a lot of military mercenaries in Indian cinema, right? We either see good army people or we see goons, right? Gundes. But this super cold-blooded assassin mercenary character that Saqib Saleem is playing, I thought it was quite fresh to see that.
We saw Jim in War.
We do, but but again, he's becomes like international terrorist. Like, there's a level where, you know, he's like super villain. This is like just a grunt, you know, like a very. And I thought that was like a very fresh take on that character. So that also, I think Saqib Saleem does a good job here, and he's probably not going to get
being based in like sort of the Citadel universe. It's also taking away the trappings of geographical rivalries or whatever. You know, this is just an international organization which is trying to benefit off, you know, state secrets or whatever, and trying to control power on a global scale, and that will manifest in many other ways. Like, Citadel is good in some ways and bad in some ways. You know, you have to decide which side you are on based on you know, whatever biases you have, I suppose. So that's interesting for sure.
I do feel the Russos have kind of given a shit sandwich to everybody that's like following up with them, because the premise of Citadel is too weak. Like, I don't understand Citadel as an organization or an agency, really. And because they wanted to twist it and convert it so much in the original one, at the moment I was like, wait, who's working from who, and what's the stakes here, you know? And they don't really necessarily explain it, Raj and DK, because they play fast and loose with certain things. And I also think probably they don't want to hurt the franchise by creating something that, you know, isn't approved by the Russos. And Russos are not great filmmakers necessarily, you know. They need like a good base around it. And because since the last Avengers, everything they've done has kind of been disappointing, Citadel included. Okay, well, I want to hear if people agree, if they watch it, and also if they also feel that maybe the critical reviews have been a bit negative. I really like the show. I had a lot of fun with this. I definitely also think it's better than Guns and Gulabs. But yeah, also Amrita, if you manage to, you thinking of finishing the rest of the show, or you think we're good? Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
I think it's good enough that but this is the kind of show that I would have playing in the background while I'm like doing other things. You know what I mean? But I don't mean that as a diss. Like there's like a lot of stuff that I watch in the background while I'm doing other things.
Yeah. I think me and Sujoy obviously do get like, obsessed with the action choreography and like all of that, which maybe is not, the thing that is on the background for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, let us know what you think when you finish it, Amrita, because I'm really keen to hear about those, the finale and the cliffhanger and stuff like that. Let's talk a little bit about Do Patti. I don't think we're going to talk too much about Do Patti, but we had a bit of thoughts and I actually kind of made you guys watch this. I think I was like feeling bad because I feel
you should. Apologize, Hassan.
Do you really want an apology from me? Like everybody has regretted my apologies. But I think I like this more than a lot of people out there, is Amrita included. Like you didn't like this at all, it feels like. What was up with Do Patti?
This is such a stupid movie. Like it is. This is what happens when actors become producers and they start like making projects, because they immediately choose projects that, you can tell because they're just looking at their part and thinking, oh, like this gives me so much scope to become an actor. And then they make this film and it's just so badly written and plotted. And you're just sort of sitting there going like, this makes no sense. And what's even worse is that, I mean, obviously Kriti Sanon produced this movie and she obviously gets like, the author-backed role. If we can even use the word author for whatever Kanika Dhillon did with this movie. But Kajol, and I cannot, like the 90s kid in me cannot believe that she's saying these words. But we saw Raveena Tandon play precisely the exact same character 2 years ago, where she was playing like a Pahadi policewoman investigating like murder or, like whatever. And I cannot believe I'm about to say this, but she did a much better job, a much more believable job than Kajol. And the thing with Kajol in this one is that, like on a performance level, it's very inauthentic, right? Like I don't believe a single word that's coming out of Kajol's mouth. Like,
her Hindi inflections move to Jat and Haryanvi and then back and forth to Marathi and all
and I don't believe any of it. And then also you can see like, like she's got like when Raveena played that character, she wasn't afraid to look unattractive, the way she pulled her hair back, the lack of makeup, like all of that. Kajol has these like very like specific strands of hair that are like framing her face. She's wearing these very like, giant like model, sunshades that are like a lavender hue. And I'm just like, I don't believe any of this. Like, what is that? Like, are you saying that you speak with that accent and you work in this one little town in the middle of nowhere in the Himalayas, but also you're like walking around with those shades? Like, what?
But then, also you are an inspector, but you're also a lawyer.
What is that?
Who thought of the Raja Babu meme? Who thought of the Raja Babu meme when you were watching that? A doctor bhi ho, main lawyer bhi hu.
Like, what is that? Like, who, like, only Kanika Dhillon could have, like, come up with, like, that kind of stupidity.
It's such a throwaway line where her colleague says, oh, हमने मैडम जी के घर में वो certificate देखा है law degree का.
And also, like, if she is prosecuting this guy for whatever, then that means she's a prosecutor. So she's, like, an inspector and like a government prosecutor. How does that work?
Like a conflict of interest, right? You can't really be the prosecutor as well as the lawyer.
Raja Babu can.
This was stupid. This is like incredibly stupid.
what I wrote in my notes is this plot is our relationship subreddit plot that somebody wrote for Reddit Karma. Like it's totally made up, and it's so fake that it's made up. Oh my god, it's so stupid, so stupid.
You didn't like the movie either?
I did not like. I so did not like this movie.
Oh my god,
it's a big bad mess for me. It's like. I can see that Kriti is trying her best, because you can tell by the way she's presented in both Shelly and Soumya how she has, put her heart, sweat, blood, tears, everything into creating these two very separate identities, and kudos for that. But oh my god, the everything around it is so bad. It's so bad. Like, the whole trigger for abuse, for this husband to get annoyed, it happens because he is stuck in a situation where the Mantriji cannot stand people drinking at his house, and the second bit when she feeds him a very spicy meal, and I'm like, what? Who thought of this? Oh my god, it's so far-fetched and so stupid.
The abusive husband finds that one mantri who's like moral but also wants to make shady business deals. It's like a very fine line to find. I like this movie. I like, it's not great, but I enjoyed watching it. I think and I was thinking a lot, because the movie is not great. I was also thinking a lot while I was watching this movie. So my hamster wheel was burning at the same time. I think, first of all, the space Kriti Sanon is in, I applaud that. If she's not getting the roles that she wants, she's producing the roles that she wants. She's seeking out a writer like Kanika Dhillon, who has had a track record of making like very female-centric movies, and she's making this. She's choosing to make this. She's also chose to make this on Netflix. She's not had any ambition to make this a theatrical release and pushing it, making us get out of our couches to watch this and buy a ticket, right? So I appreciate that. And I was then also thinking, right, like, a woman producing, a woman writing, compare this to what men are producing and writing, right? So Salman's movies, all of the ones that he's produced, but even further, Manoj Bajpayee, when he decides to produce a movie, he makes Bhaiyaji, right? That's the movie he chooses to make. And I was thinking, like, the men want to make movies where they save the world, and women are making movies where, can we just save ourselves first against these abusive men? And I thought that was just kind of an interesting thing. I think immediately I was on Team Shelly. Like, she has such I'm gonna shit up energy. At the moment she walks in, I was really applauding it. And the reveal of Soumya and the abuse and stuff like that, all of that really didn't make sense. Kajol absolutely didn't make sense to me as a character. One pet peeve I always have in filmmaking is inconsistent voiceover narration, is when it comes in and it goes out, and this movie does that crime too. But I don't know, I think I just didn't want to be too negative about this movie, because I know it's very, in a way, very calculated in the way it's making it, what it's making, and it's basically telling us, just ghar pe baith ke dekh lo, it's not that bad. And I feel like I've seen worse from Netflix.
I think, those are good points, Asim, but like, I feel I would share those thoughts if this had been made by someone other than Kriti Sanon and Kanika Dhillon. And they're the co-producers. Like, Kanika wrote it and Kriti is acting in it, but they're also like co-producing this film. And I feel like the bar that you're describing is incredibly low in 2024. Because we've already come to a point where we have had people like Anvita Dutt who are on Netflix and making like truly feminist movies like Bulbul. Like, everything that you'd said about this movie is something that has happened with Bulbul, except Bulbul is an incredibly, like, it is a far superior movie than anything like this. So I expect better
But Kriti is not getting those roles, though, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, if you are saying that Kriti Sanon is going out there and creating work for herself and making her own projects, I support that and I celebrate that. But she also needs to understand that that comes with a certain responsibility. It's not enough for her to be like, well, I need a participation trophy for what I've tried to do. She needs to then go out there and find those projects and like make good work, because the kind of thing that she is doing, like, she can do it because she's Kriti Sanon and she has a certain level or amount of credibility or power in the industry. And it's a very limited amount of power. Let's not get it twisted. The power difference between, say, an Alia Bhatt and a Kriti Sanon as producers is like morning and night, right? Like, it's not the same level playing field whatsoever. But I'm saying that if Kriti Sanon is going out there and saying that, like, I am doing this as a strong, independent woman, I'm like creating the kind of work that the industry won't give me, then she also has the responsibility to create good work, because otherwise it just comes off as a vanity project, and it's not really furthering the cause for the people who are waiting behind her and hoping that she's going to do a great job of it. Because there is no, like, it's not like people are going to watch Do Patti and be like, oh my God, you know what? Like, I also want to become like a producer. I also want to become a director. I want to write something. Or like Netflix is watching like how Do Patti is being received by the audience and being like, you know what? We need to make more Do Pattis. Whereas with something like Bulbul, for instance, and I keep coming back to Bulbul because that was one of my favorite films that came out on Netflix, and has nothing to do, it's not even like, my favorite film by a woman director kind of a thing, but it genuinely was like one of my favorite films ever to come out of Netflix India. That is the kind of project that then gets other projects greenlit. And I don't think like Do Patti is going to do that.
I mean, the comparison with, you mentioned Bulbul, I would go the Alia way and compare this with what Alia did with Darlings, right? It's sort of in that similar story verse of, dealing with abuse and a very violent husband and domestic abuse and the comeuppance against it in a way. And that does not, in a way, trivialize the whole dark aspect of domestic abuse. Here, it sort of feels like, because of how it is being treated, how comical it is, how silly it is, it sort of cheapens that whole seriousness of that particular subject in how Do Patti plays with it. Versus, you can see how Vijay Verma in Darlings is, how he is so loving towards his wife, and then the flip happens so sudden, it's so much more shocking. And here it just feels like the actor could not carry it, the writers could not carry it, the director could not carry it either. It just feels like this is so silly.
Yeah, I actually have a point about that, because so the actor is Shahir Sheikh, and I think he got a lot of criticism generally, right? But I think the comparison with Darlings is interesting, because I do feel that this movie could have been better if it just had a better male actor next to Kriti. It could have added that nuances that in Darlings it does have, where, like, a lot of times, a lot of the story is about these two versions of Kriti Sanon, who is going to get the guy, right? And we don't want either to get the guy, because the guy is terrible, right? And I think that's a big problem.
Yeah, it's very unbelievable that both the Kritis are falling for this guy.
Yeah, but that's village life, man. There's like, just like this like, there's not many men available, so this is apparently the one that they need to go after. And I think that's just like
और उसके पास tattoo है. Wow.
Yeah. So I think there needs to be, from the audience at least, some sort of idea that, oh, this man is desirable even though he's toxic, right? And I think Darlings did that well.
Well, but that is what I mean by the power differential between a Alia Bhatt and a Kriti Sanon, because Darlings was a Red Chillies production. And I have my opinion. I know that we all have our opinions about Red Chillies as a production house, but let's not pretend that Red Chillies doesn't know what it's doing when it comes to something like this, versus what Do Patti is. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I mean, my feelings are overwhelmingly negative.
Yeah.
But I wish Kriti the best. Like I don't wish ill upon her.
Also, like if you're going the Darlings route of comparing again, the comparison of Shefali Shah and how Tanvi Azmi's character here is like again night and day, right? Like you see Tanvi Azmi's character Maji to be introduced in a way that she would play a very crucial role in the story, but it comes to nothing. Vivek Mushran, nothing,
But that's Kanika Dhillon's fault, right? That's not necessarily, that's clearly her fault, which I feel, when you speak about Anvika Dutt and all of these other filmmakers, I think Kanika Dhillon is very good at marketing herself as the women writer. And I'm not sure if the work has kind of justified the positions she's taken, because those movies that she's really done, for me, they've personally not worked as well. But she's great at marketing herself for sure. And I think, I don't know, man. I just think I've watched Kriti. She's working in Shahzada. She's working in Ganpat, Hiropanti 2, Adi Purush. These are the movies she's getting, right? So I'm applauding her for doing this. And then men are making Salar and KGF 7 and stuff like that, which are just fucking boring, right? So I just want to give her some sort of credit on what she's trying to do. And I do feel
it did work for her with like Mimi, for example. It has
Mimi, I think she wants to make Mimi. That's the kind of movie she probably wants to make. But I think this is kind of maybe hopefully the first steps to that. And I do feel like Kajol and Kriti and Kanika, those names just make you do click on the movie, right? And I think that's all that matters for Netflix, right? There's no box office necessarily. They have a set budget. They're going to get some promotion, some numbers out of it. So I'm hoping this worked out well for Kriti, at least, because she's trying, and I can applaud only that. I like Kriti. I didn't mind that the item song in the leather leotard was not in the movie. I was thinking that would be in the movie at the end or something. I didn't see it. But I'm sorry I forced you guys to watch this movie, because I thought it had like more in it than you guys seem to find in it. But
I literally texted Amrita saying, I'm 1 hour in and this is so bland and boring. And Amrita saying it doesn't get better. And oh dear.
Yeah. Kajol was a trip though, man. Like, I don't know what she was on here. Like, it's so like, wow. Because there's that sequence where he visits her, the villain guy visits her in her kitchen.
What the hell was that scene?
Yeah, and it's suddenly, again, it's this idea, I think, that this guy is appealing, right? I almost felt there was like a sexual thread going on between him and Kajol. But I was like, if Kajol is a badass, why didn't she like pull a belcha or something and hit him over the head? I thought that was going to be Kajol's scene, and she doesn't do anything with that. Again, I just feel the writing is off there, and the casting is off. But yeah, I don't know. That was Do Patti. It's out on Netflix if people still want to watch it. And a lot of people probably have. So let us know what you think about it.
Also, I want to say that, the way that Do Patti is written is Patti. And in Malayalam, we do have a word that is like Patti, but we pronounce it as Patti, which means dog. So my trilingual brain was just like Do Patti the whole time, and I was just like, 2 dogs? Like who? What is happening? And then it to this day Like, my first reaction is like 2 dogs, and then it's like no, 2 cards.
Cool. I think this is it for this episode. We're doing another Patreon bonus episode too, which I think is going to be maybe more interesting than the discussion we had on Do Patti. So follow us on Patreon, join us, and listen to what we're saying there. I think we might talk a little bit about the elections in the US for a couple of minutes. So if you're interested in some current events, follow us there. And a few other things. I saw Biswa live in London. I want to talk about that. That's going to go on Patreon too. So yeah, join us. But otherwise, drop us an email at youpodcasting@gmail.com. Amrita, where can people find you online?
You can find me at Amrita IQ on Blue Sky, where I'm spending more and more time. I'm on Twitter still, and I'm still Amrita IQ, but I'm trying to sort of peter out.
I was having a conversation yesterday with our top friend Beth, and she was also saying she's on Blue Sky now. And I was like, what's going on? Like, you and Amrita are going to Blue Sky. Now I have to join because you guys are there too. So after the chat with you and her, I had to revalidate and re-log into Blue Sky, re-find my password. So I'm back. I'm back on Blue Sky too.
We are so back.
No, but Blue Sky literally feels like Twitter from like 12 years ago. Like it's a much quieter place. There's no like porn, there's no bots, there's no blue tick incels.
There's porn, Amrita.
Oh, there is? Okay, well, it's not on my feed.
Has Sujoy found it, or has the porn found Sujoy? That's the question.
Well, find it on Patreon. The answers shall be revealed.
So yeah, we're back all on Patreon, and Amrita's pushing Blue Sky the way I push Do Patti, so I'll have to take it, I guess. So Joy, where can people find you online?
You can find me still on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at 93K. And you can also follow Khandaan Podcast on all our socials at Khandaan Podcast.
Great. And yeah, we're on TikTok. Follow. Also, if you have watched the Kareena Kapoor episode on YouTube, the video essay, leave us a comment there. That kind of boosts us up. If you haven't watched it, I'll add the link in the show notes.
Asim, I have to point this out. One of my friends who is also a listener always, he complained that we promised that we will leave stuff in the show notes and we never do, and he was like,
that was exactly what I was gonna say. Now that I'm promising it now, but the last episode we had a Mamta Kulkarni essay and a link to the song. And I completely forgot adding both of them, and I've been thinking about it for the last 3 days that I should really update the show notes. I really should. I think it's unfair. So if you've not listened or go back, I'll add it to the show notes. Try my best. So yeah. The thing is, like, a lot of times we're just like pushing these episodes out so quickly, and I just forgot. So yeah, I'll take the blame. I won't blame Amrita, who does the actual show notes, but I'll take the blame. Guys.
Excuse me, all the links are like 100% Asim. It is not
I'm cutting
fault.
this off of the episode, Amazon. That doesn't matter. I'm editing this out. Guys, I'll catch you guys later. Follow us on Patreon. Thanks for listening.
क्या बोलती